After auditing the finances of hundreds of people, what do you find to be the common thing keeping most people broke?
A lot of people don't understand how interest actually works on their credit cards. And even when they do kind of understand it, since a lot of people, they always say, oh, but I didn't look at it. I don't want to look at it because it's too scary. It's easier to just, let it be and not think about it. They don't know. I call their interest rate out and I'm like, this is 30%. They're like, I thought this was 12%.
Do they even know the difference at that point?
At that point, they do understand. Most of them at least understand that difference. Once they at least understand interest, every once in a while I have to explain interest, and that's okay. But that's definitely the common thread I see throughout is a lot of people want to bury their head in the sand because it just gets so scary. So they just bury, but then it gets worse. And then it ends in the situation where there's been a few guests this year where I don't see anything but bankruptcy being the only option. And, those people specifically where I can't figure out anything on the basic level, we set them up with a financial advisor that we partner with. Well, that is definitely the common thread is they just put their head in the sand. They're scared and it just ends up getting worse. And then they have no idea how bad the debt even is. And not even that. They put their head in the sand so much that they will sit here and they'll say, no, you'll be happy to know that I didn't purchase on that credit card. It's been like 6 months since I purchased on the credit card. I open it, there's like 5 subscriptions renewing. They have no idea.
And are any of those people that you audit that are in really bad financial situations also the type of person to skimp out on small purchases? I feel like you can really draw a line between two kinds of people. The people that are very disciplined with like the small things. Oh, I'm not going to go get a coffee. I'm going to not get avocado. I'm not going to get bacon because it's adding a few dollars. Mm-hmm. And then the other people that are like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do you see a common thread there where like you really don't see that archetype of human that saves on those small things to be really in financial strife?
I don't see anyone that doesn't get the small purchases. I feel like our show always has the small purchases, and they always think that they're going out to eat like once, twice a week, and then I show them that they get a coffee in the morning and then a vending machine during the day and then a dinner at night almost every day. So it's just they think they're not making small purchases, but they do.
Well, what are small purchases okay? Because I saw some hate that you got maybe about a month or two ago.
Can I guess? Spotify.
Was it that? Yeah, I think it was. You told someone not to do the Spotify when they said, listen, it's like $9 a month or $11 a month. It's like the only thing I enjoy. And you're like, no, you need to cut everything. You have no room for enjoyment.
Yeah.
Looking back, do you think that maybe there was some room for enjoyment or no? Like it's an all or nothing?
I give people, it's not all or nothing. I give people all the time some room. I gave the episode we recorded today, I gave her $20 a month for subscriptions. There are people that I do give room on when they have room. When people are literally going to potentially get evicted from an apartment because they only have $50 left after I give them the most conservative budget. If they have $50 left on a monthly basis, I think they can listen to ads. Now, I mean, do I care if someone gets Spotify specifically? No. It just becomes an example throughout where it's like, hey, we can sacrifice something. It's not about Spotify. Right. It's about the example of we can sacrifice. If they want to keep Spotify, they can keep Spotify.
Yeah. I think your point that I actually agreed with was that they could get Spotify with the ads.
Yeah.
Just listen to the ads.
Or just YouTube. YouTube has everything that Spotify already has.
I do YouTube. Apparently the ads are a lot worse on Spotify. The features on premium, apparently you can't even like skip a lot of songs anymore. Apparently free Spotify is pretty shitty. But again, it's never been about Spotify. The reason why we kind of made Spotify kind of like almost a meme to always call out is because people were good with me telling them to cut back, and the moment they heard Spotify, they would always perk up and almost be offended that
because it seems like the simplest of thing that people should be able to afford. Oh, it's just listening to music. It's not even like television. It's just audible. It's auditory. Yeah. So I feel like really coming after that's like attacking what people like think as like a basic human necessity.
But it's also cheap. When you think of over the course of a month, if you're not getting much enjoyment anywhere else in life but Spotify.
But it's more expensive if you're paying interest on that because you're not paying it off and you're putting it on a credit card.
Even paying 50% interest on $12 a month, like isn't that bad in the big picture? Like if they work an extra hour at their job.
I agree, but I think you would also probably agree with the sentiment that it's not necessarily about the $9.99 and the 50% of that, but it's the string of actions that follow.
Oh, totally.
It's like the whole mentality 100%. Of the $9.99. Oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, the $3 Starbucks is not a big deal. Oh, this isn't a big deal, but it adds up.
And that's why I push back on that.
That's why I find it really interesting that you rarely ever see people struggling that are the type to skip out on those small little purchases. Yeah. That's very interesting.
No, we don't get those people. because we only have people on that are struggling, and we never have the people who are trying to be frugal on small purchases.
What have you noticed about human nature, not only auditing the finances of hundreds of people, but also just talking to 500 people that open up to you?
Yeah, definitely some sense of entitlement. And I hate saying that word because a lot of it gets politically charged. When you hear the word entitlement in our culture, it's, politically charged. But a lot of people think that they had a hard day at work and are entitled to pick up the meal. And sure, they can do it. And what I always try to tell people when they're not willing to change on the show, I'm just like, okay, go do it. I don't care. Go do it. But I'm having the conversation of, here's what you should do to actually get your finances in order. But a lot of people, they had a tired day at work. Maybe make it even more complicated with a little extra school, make it even more complicated by having some kids. And it says they deserve the sweet treat, all that stuff. And I want them to get the sweet treat. I want them to spend 30% of their money on their sweet treat once they're out of debt and have a fully funded emergency fund. But I've picked up on a lot of that entitlement, thinking that it's more of a deserve than let's just put in a little bit of sacrifice and then let's get all the sweet treats you want. So lots of.
Where does that come from?
Total guess.
Yeah.
But just based on how I grew up and based on the culture and probably the consumerism culture, our median household income in the United States or our GDP per capita is double in the United Kingdom. So it's like we have that extra money more typically than those other countries to just go blow it on things. We see the commercials. We got everything. It's in our culture. No, you get the McDonald's because you want the ice cream, You get it. It's a nice day out. It's just the extra little things. Should have that yearly trip somewhere.
This clip is brought to you by our sponsor, Aura. Have you ever Googled yourself or a loved one and been absolutely shocked by all of the information that's publicly available online? Well, I did it recently, and it was really scary to find private information that was readily available on public data broker sites. Well, if you're scared about something like this too, that's where our sponsor, Aura, comes in. Not only does Aura monitor your personal data across the web, but it also helps you opt out of those invasive data broker websites. Plus, they offer identity theft protection with up to $5 million in insurance for your whole family, financial fraud alerts, and even a VPN to keep your online activity private. Personally, I'm not willing to leave my information and my family's security vulnerable, and you don't have to either. Go to aura.com/icedcoffeeclips to try it out for 2 weeks for completely free. And literally in just minutes, Aura will let you know if your personal information is exposed. Head to aura.com/icedcoffeeclips to see why it's worth it and protect what matters most. Seriously, guys, it's just 2 weeks completely for free. Try it out with the link down below in the description or aura.com/icedcoffeeclips. Thank you to Aura for sponsoring this podcast.